When you left Ola, you were the CMO, the head of marketing. Anything that you remember from the Ola days?
In 2014, end of 15, when there was massive flash floods in Chennai, and what we did was we got bored. I remember when I joined Ride Now, so if you want to leave and if you get a car within 1 hour, it's like, wow, man, I'm getting a car instantly. And we completely changed that in 1.5 years flat. Today, of course, if you don't get a cab or an auto, in 2 minutes, you're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Right? In fact, when I joined the Aadhaar project, the UIDAI project under Mr. Nilekani, the Aadhaar project is probably the fastest scaled up startup in Indian history because you had 0 to 1 billion users in 5 years flat. So the India is the lifestyle disease capital of the world. And what we ended up being is we became calorie sufficient but nutrition deficient. Today, in terms of low-carb cloud kitchens, we are the largest in India. We have 45 kitchens across 5 cities. We were selling our flour and co-founder of Swiggy ordered our flour. So even today, among the millions of restaurants, I'm the only restaurant in India which sells atta.
What's one ingredient that most Indians think is healthy but isn't? It's not healthy.
Not at all. So
You've also raised multiple rounds. I heard the first 2 million, then 3.5 million.
in fact, we just did our closer last round. Our angels reinvested. I mean, no angel reinvests in a Series A after 6 years.
Sudarshan, I have a small surprise. I actually printed out your pitch deck.
Oh,
Same.
alright. This is not planned. This is the first time I've seen this in print.
Ladies and gentlemen and wonderful people of the internet. In today's episode of Elsonomics, our story of success is that of Sudarshan Gangrade. Sudarshan is the founder of Low Foods, which is the parent company of Protein Chef, All Things Healthy, DiabeSmart, and so many more. He is an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and IIM Bangalore. He was the CMO of Ola Cabs and also volunteered with Nandan Nilekani for the Aadhaar project for the government of India. 2019 is when he launched Low Foods, and he started with the intent of bringing healthy food options to the mass of India without compromising on taste. So in today's podcast, we're going to cover a lot. We're going to cover his personal journey. We're going to cover his professional journey, how he's growing these brands, and also his personal philosophies, because he's also a sportsman. So without further ado, welcome Sudarshan. Welcome to Elsonomics. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Elson. Thanks for having me over, and hello, everyone.
Awesome. So Sudarshan, I want to first cover the elephant in the room. When you left Ola, right? And this is at the peak, or you took it to the peak, I would say, going from say 5,000 to 1 million rides or not. And you were the CMO, the head of marketing. Now, most people would consider that as career suicide, right? So tell us about that decision. Why did you do that? And also the Ola journey, all of that, because did corporate really help you in this startup journey as well? So
the move from Ola was very deliberate. I had spent 2 years there, and this was because I've been working with a lot of startups for the longest time, for almost 10 years. Right?
Yeah.
In fact, when I joined the Aadhaar project, the UIDAI project under Mr. Nilekani, we were essentially a startup. I mean, we were basically about 10, 15 people coming to the office, all from the private sector, handpicked, and the idea was to just build the Aadhaar project. So everything from Aadhaar, the brand name to the logo to all of that. So part of the core team that built that out. So been part of startups through and through, and
Right.
I was very clear that I wanted to start something of my own. So, which is why I kind of said 2 years here and then exit and get something of my own started. So I'll actually answer the question in terms of did corporate help me or not, right? I think in my corporate stint was only the first 2.5 years with Asian Paints.
Okay.
After that, I've been pretty much with startups. So if I were to look at Ola as a corporate, because it had grown to a very large company by the time I exited, that actually prepared me very well for my startup, because the whole idea was I'd seen 2 journeys of growing from zero to scale, right? Ola was among the earliest unicorns that we had in India. Ola was still in early-ish days, when they were doing about 4,000 to 5,000 rides a day. And then, of course, we went from 5,000 to 1 million rides a day. And even at the Aadhaar project, I mean, if you look at it technically, the Aadhaar project is probably the fastest scaled up startup in Indian history, because you had 0 to 1 billion users in 5 years flat, right? So in that sense, being part of 2 very high growth and scaled journeys. So seen how you start envisioning at scale from day zero and then build for scale. So which is why I think I kind of got prepared well for my current startup because of that.
Talk to me about this as well, because IIT Kharagpur, IIM Bangalore, those are probably 2 of the most distinguished organizations out there, which every kid is dreaming about, or every kid's mother is dreaming about.
Yeah.
But I want to know that, like, what kind of a student were you? Were you like the good kid that just kept topping class, or how were you?
Not at IIT.
Okay.
I think the running joke at IIT Kharagpur in our batch was that, as tough as it is to get in, it's tougher to not get out of this place, which means they will force you to get out of this place. So yeah, I mean, IIT was, I think, probably the best because the first time you're stepping out, you're in a hostel with 500 other guys, and you're just finding your feet. There's a coming of age. So that obviously remains the best time of your life.
Yeah.
And but at IIT it was all about just exploring myself. So I was mostly focused on everything except studies.
Okay.
And I'm glad I did that. So after IIT I joined IIM Bangalore. At that time, doing MBA immediately after engineering was still the thing to do.
Correct.
Unlike nowadays. And after that I joined Asian Paints standard sales marketing role. And then 2006 is when there's a new word called analytics that was starting off at that time. So very few people knew what analytics means, and there was this startup here in Bangalore. So I decided to join them. They were in the whole marketing analytics space, worked with Procter and Gamble, Coke, directly with the global headquarters and global brand managers. So joined them, and then as part of them moved to the US. And then came back and then joined the Aadhaar project because 2009 is when Mr. Nilekani was mandated by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to start the project. And that's when, end of 2009-10 is when I joined them. So at that time, e-commerce was starting off. I remember Flipkart was still doing about 15,000-20,000 orders a day. And then vertical e-commerce was starting. So I joined this. So my bet was that vertical e-commerce will do well. I joined
What's vertical e-commerce?
So basically focused on a vertical. So baby care focused or home care focused.
Okay.
You have websites, right? So I joined this company called Hoopos.com that got bought over by Baby Oil. And then at that time, cabs was, like I said, taxi business was becoming sexier and becoming cabs. And having, the way I looked at it was India lacked a mobility infrastructure fundamentally. And Ola was really, truly doing that to bridge the gap.
Right.
I remember when I joined Ola, we were doing 4,000-5,000 rides a day. And I think I joined in July, August. And that New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve, everyone goes and parties, right? At that time, cabs were still not very big. So, of course, we had our own cabs. And I remember talking to a bar owner the year after that. I mean, so 1.5 years later when we were doing million rides and Uber also was big. And he said that, look, I got some 20 valet, to take care of valet parking, all of that part, right?
Yeah.
And nobody came by their own car. Everyone came by an Ola cab. And he said in 1 year flat, that entire thing changed. I think Ola and just the cab business or the mobility business, right? And maybe quick commerce also. It is probably among the most toughest businesses to build. And the simple reason for that is it was essentially an offline business. Because what is happening is among the many lakhs of kilometers of road in India, the ping could come from any particular location, right?
Okay.
And a cab had to be there within a 5 to 10 minute vicinity and come physically, a car and a driver. Remember, both of the things need to exist.
Sure.
Need to come, be available and come in 10 minutes to where you are standing. I remember when I joined, Ride Now used to be 60 minutes. So if you want to leave immediately, so the equivalent was you press, and if you get a car within 1 hour, it's like, wow, man, I'm getting a car instantly. And we completely changed that. And then today, of course, if you don't get a cab or an auto in 2 minutes, you're like, what's happening here, right? But that entire thing changed in 1.5 years flat.
Tell me about this. So the Bangalore scene, right? The startup scene. What do you see different between that time and now?
Bangalore, I think, has been a hotbed from the beginning. So maybe I think the quality of founders and the how early are they getting into the game and the confidence, I think, has gone up a lot more. And in general, the ecosystem has evolved far more now. So you have support systems available when you are an idea stage as well.
Yeah.
You have multiple accelerators, multiple ecosystems that work when you're. In fact, now you have ecosystems that if you just have an idea and you're looking for a co-founder, but you just want to hang around for 3-6 months.
Yeah.
And that kind of an ecosystem never was there at that time, right? So that I think is a huge change, that now you have an ecosystem available at each stage of a founder's journey and a company's life stage. So I think that's a huge enabler as well and a differentiator as well.
Anything that you remember from the Ola days that, that's just stood from the...
I don't know if you remember, there were floods in Chennai. There was a time in 2014 end or 15 when there was massive flash floods in Chennai, and Chennai was drowned and literally drowned. What we did was we got boats. And so, because our core promise was mobility, right? And we said, okay, we then contacted the city manager, and and then we said, look, what can we do here? Because obviously there's no road movement. Roads are flooded, all the main roads. And we floated boats there, and people transported boats, and the entire city team pulled that off. And then we suddenly people started to talk about it. And at that time, I think Facebook was still there. And obviously nothing else was there. But it started getting picked up, and people just started talking about it left, right, and center. And then we realized, oh, this is what going viral means. So
I just feel like I want to actually, now that I heard the story and all of this, I was like, hey, I want to go back to your early days when you started off as a student, because I think that's also a lot inspiring.
I was obviously sharp enough, and exams and all, just a week before usually could handle and stay at top of the class. So all that was anyways there. But so moved to Visakhapatnam, and then I was still in 8th. I was not bothered, but my brother was in 10th, and he started to study for IIT because if you go to Andhra, IIT is everything, right? IIT and engineering exams. So he started to study. He got through IIT, and then I somehow at home I had a ready-made role model. So it just became a default key. He's doing it, so might as well just do the same.
Is he also an entrepreneur?
No. He's in a job. He's in the US. He's a classic Andhra output, engineering, and then a master's in the US and job in the US. And he's very good and very happy with that.
You mentioned you had also been in the US.
Yes, I was there briefly. But I was very clear from day one. I actually went on an L1A visa. I could have gotten a green card at that time in 1.5 years flat. And I very categorically said I will not even begin the process. So I refused. I was very clear I want to come back and do something in India.
Well, why though?
I don't know. I just had this streak that I want to do something for India, which is why when I came back, I joined the Aadhaar project, the UID project, as a full-time volunteer. I just heard that something like this is happening, and I joined them. I quit my job and just joined as a full-time volunteer who gets a chance to do something for the country that I knew because I had been in the US, right? Yeah. I had seen social security number and I knew what it does to a country.
I noticed this because, so as part of the podcast, we're doing a little bit of research, watching some of your TED Talks and podcasts. And I noticed you keep talking about impact and changing India and all of that. Let's dive into this, right? So
India is the lifestyle disease capital of the world, right? And when I say that, one talks about diabetes usually, but usually if you look at cardiac disease also, right? I mean, and it's not about cardiac failure like heart issues, but also hypertension, right?
Sure.
And then you have renal, which is kidney related stuff. You have retinal, eyes related stuff, right? But a lot of it fundamentally traces back to our food habits. Yeah. And the two key food habits that I think downstream create this impact is we over-index on carbohydrates and under-index on protein.
Yeah.
As a country.
And as a country that loves food and knows food. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, if you look at it, and the reason for that is obviously our history as a country, right? I mean, when we got independence, there was a lot of hunger, right? People didn't have a single full meal in one day, right? Yeah. So the primary purpose of the government was to, we were calorie deficient.
Give them something to eat.
Yeah. So we were severely calorie deficient, right? Which is why the whole green revolution. And why do you do that? So you work with staples so that, staples gives you the calories, right? Which is why rice and wheat became so large because the whole green revolution was powered by these two staples. Now, the premise of that was that, let's at least make sure there is calories that is available.
Fair.
Right? And what we ended up being is we became calorie sufficient but nutrition deficient because our entire food habits is built around staples and primarily around wheat and rice.
Right.
And while they give you the calories from a nutrition perspective, they are very minimal, especially the versions that are grown at scale, right? Even non-vegetarians in India are technically vegetarian from a nutrition perspective. So non-vegetarian is technically only about, whether you can have non-vegetarian food or not. But nutritionally, if you look at it, in India, even the non-vegetarians probably end up eating non-vegetarian 2 or 3 times in a week.
Tell me about the, you sitting and coming up with this. Was it like you saw this as a pattern somewhere or like how do you come up, like is it you put on your IIM brain and you're like, "Arey, market research, how does that work?" And I know it's probably a mix of...
it's a great question because so after Ola, I was figuring out what I want to do. I wanted to do something ideally in health and fitness because that was an interest. And I started a company called Lean Science with a co-founder of mine. And it was in the whole diet fat loss consulting. So
Okay.
he was really in, he had built his own body of knowledge, and he was doing it as a hobby. And then we converted that, and we built a pretty decent lifestyle boutique business out of that, consulting with clients and helping them correct a lot of the lifestyle and metabolic issues that they had. So we actually, I was among the earliest when it was launched in 2016. I think we were about 8-10 people in India or in Bangalore who actually started that and using that. In fact, I remember there used to be just one reader in entire Bangalore, and we used to all call each other up and say, "Yaar, wo reader bhej de, so at least I can download the data." But as part of that, I really understood the science of body nutrition, and which is why realize that India fundamentally leave aside food, but fundamentally the lifestyle diseases are happening because of the fact that we have a lot of we over index on carbohydrates and under index on protein, and this is not available in the current food, which is why I decided to build a product line that kind of delivers that.
And I think Low Foods is not just your entire parent brand. That's not just a packaged foods company. You're also doing cloud kitchens. I heard that you're doing more than 20 cloud kitchens across cities in India. Tell us about that as well, maybe.
Till 2-3 years back, when I would say that to a VC, they would say it's clutter. Now they call it strategy. So, but so we started off as a packaged food business. We built flours which were extremely low on carbohydrates and high on protein, and obviously used flours to make multiple things. So, in fact, interestingly, I think it was in 2019 end or so, or early 2020s, we were selling our flour, and the co-founder of Swiggy ordered our flour, and he ordered from our website, and
Okay.
it took him 2 days to reach. So he called me up and said, "Yaar, he used to stay close to HSR, and our office was in HSR." He said, "Look, I'm going to set you up as a restaurant on Swiggy." And this I'm talking about like when it was a pure restaurant business.
Yeah.
Right? So even today, among the millions of restaurants, I'm the only restaurant in India which sells atta. And that's because obviously the big boss wants, so everyone gets it. So at that time, he set me up as a restaurant. So obviously nobody's coming on Swiggy looking for atta, right?
Yeah.
And then we said, okay, look, our atta is listed. Might as well create a roti paratha because that's what people are consuming, right? So then we said, we had a cook at home, so we said, yaar, aake zara thoda sa roti paratha bana do. So that's how we listed ourselves, and then of course using our own flour, and then we started to build a menu out of it because it started, we were very surprised by the response that we got, and then slowly we started to build that out. And today, in terms of low carb cloud kitchens, we are the largest in India. We have 45 kitchens across 5 cities.
Crazy.
And we, in terms of pure health focused pure play cloud kitchen brands, we are the number 2 in the country already. So people falter when they feel like eating outside, they don't want to cook anymore, right? And I think that's where we really were able to serve, because
Friday nights and the Saturdays.
Yeah, because most of the time you're planned, right? But there is always in a week, yaar,
correct,
bahar jate hain ya fir khana nahi banana hai. So then if you can have something that you is genuinely and made and is healthy and tasty, yeah, and then that's what really changes the game.
Is it true that you actually started off in like the garage style in a nice kitchen, and you were doing R&D for 6 months with a scientist figuring things out?
We took a 2 BHK flat because so the thing is, when we started off, what I wanted to build, there was nothing like that in India, right? For example, I wanted to build a very low carbohydrate matri and a murukku and a mixture, for example. Now, no such product existed in India, so we had to build it from scratch. But the question was, I didn't even know if I can build something or not. See, in India, if you look at food, right, it's made from one of 5 base ingredients. It'll either have maida or atta or rice flour, urad dal, or besan, gram flour.
Sure.
Anything in India, any food in India is made of one of these 5 as a base flour.
Correct.
The problem is, if you're making something which is very low on carbs, like you said, dal is essentially high on carbs, right? You can't use any of these. So in essence, I had to recreate a matri, or I had to recreate a murukku, I had to recreate a mixture without using these as the base ingredients. And we were unsure if it can even be done. So which is why I said, look, let's just try. So I took up a 2 BHK flat, a typical flat. In the daytime, one of my friends, he had a cook. So, cooks usually after 10 o'clock, they are free, right? So I would say, yaar, tu idhar aaja. So morning from 9 to 11, I and my nutritionist would make the formulations. Then 11 to 3, he would cook it.
Crazy.
And then 3 o'clock, I would go to WeWork and then give to everyone in the hot desk there, and give to everyone. They would taste, give feedback. They just start the same thing. So I think we would have done at least a few hundred iterations over that first 6 months.
Honest question, like, how is it like going from all of that job, high paycheck, etc.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't you have like that question of opportunity cost, this? How do you navigate that part?
No, so I was very clear I'll do something of my own, and touch wood, because of the Ola, I had joined Ola fairly early. So the good part, financially, I was sorted. I knew I'll be sorted because, but I think the biggest thing was my wife. She was working, and she was working in a fairly senior job, and she was a stable one. So, if nothing, there was that backup always there. So overall, I felt confident that for at least the next couple of years,
So, an advice to any first-time founder is to get a nice wife.
I mean, just be clear about whether you want to do it in the first place.
But what
I mean,
she was
oh,
supportive.
extremely supportive. Yeah, obviously, that's why I could do this experiment for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Even the fact that I could quit my job and join as a full-time volunteer at Aadhaar was just largely because of that as well. And you knew that there was something backup available. Right?
Fair. So do you have those questions in your head ki, bro, should I go back to another job? People looking at you telling, why are you doing all of this? Whether it's volunteering, whether it's experimenting. Does someone like you have to ask those questions?
Yes,
also?
absolutely. Every single day that question comes, ki, why am I doing this? But I think the only thing that kept me going was a larger mission. So because if my goal was purely that I need to make money, I think for the first 4 years we had no valuation, nor money, nor revenue. I mean, very little revenue to speak of.
Do you have like any mantra or something that you keep saying when you go through this? Or what is
No,
it?
so I think the larger mission. So you're doing this for a larger mission. I think that's something which, if you come
And
to our office,
manifest that? Oh.
yeah, if you come to our office, the mission statement is a very clearly put in, right? And second is, I think you see a lot of people getting impacted. I know, we keep getting calls and messages. We are a product company. We are not a services company yet. See so many people who talk about either they lost weight or diabetes, sugar came down, all of that. But I think that's where perseverance comes into play, that you just
survive long enough and thrive.
And that's the reason why we have so many things, right? I mean, we have cloud kitchens, we have multiple brands, we have multiple products. I think we are still the only brand that has run 2 human clinical trials on our atta and our mixture and our cookies to show that they deliver 55 to 70% lower sugar spike compared to a regular food product. So that's the level of technicality that we get into, and that's the reason why we are not a generic healthier brand or a generic healthier better for you brand. We are what we call a functional food. In fact, we are essentially a nutraceutical, but in a bhujia or an atta or a bread or that format.
So what functional food?
So basically, it is foods that are nutritionally calibrated for a specific health condition or health goal.
Okay.
Like I said, ours is not a regular, multigrain atta, right? Ours is a clinically tested to show 55% lower sugar spike.
And since, say, when you started Low Foods, you were probably one of the only brands out there, or rather the only one there. Today, we have a lot of brands that are coming in claiming to be healthy and tasty. Some of them genuine, some of them not. How do you actually differentiate between these guys?
Absolutely. I think it's in food, the single most important parameter is taste. We have a bhujia that is low GI, bhujia that is high protein. We have a mixture, we have a biscuit. So the idea is that it's exactly what you've been having. And that's our second core differentiator. When I was starting off, everyone was doing all these bars, cereal, muesli, cold pressed juices, and all those fancy things are happening. I was here making sev, bhujia mixture.
The staples.
Yeah, but I was very clear that is what India snacks, right? And in the long term, Indians will come back to their core food form factor.
And you have also raised multiple rounds, I've heard. So whether I think it's the first 2 million, then a 3.5 million and all of that. When you're talking to these VCs, they're obviously, the IIM tag, the IIT tag help. And the corporate stints help. But those are they're all different industries, right? And VCs, when they hear healthy food, what are those talk to me about those interactions like. Is it easier to pitch to VCs?
See, in the first year, 2 years, it's mostly angel investment round. So, that's something where you as a...
You talk to friends and family.
Friends and family, and even after that, when you talk to, veteran individual investors. So, they are mostly focused on you as an individual, right? And given the background and given the way I was approaching this entire piece and what was driving me to it, because money was clearly not driving me. I had made that already. So, for them, that is of value that, if someone's doing it for a larger reason and with a passion, then somewhere they'll get there.
How do you communicate that?
No, they are veterans for that.
They can
they'll figure it out. I mean, you can't write this down and say, oh, look here. I think, at least in the early days, the way I would conduct all my meetings was I would sit across the table, open the PPT and just put all the snacks while talking. And by the time the PPT would finish, all the food would finish. And then automatically, they would look at it that they ended up having the entire thing. The second thing was then they would realize that it's a great product, all of that. But, and if you look at psychology, if someone has your food, then they have a softer corner for you. I mean, these are all obviously veterans, and for them, these are small amounts, but none of my angel investors are exited till now. And in fact, there's only been 2 people, and you can make out that they were in the multiple business. In fact, we just did our closer last round. Our angels reinvested. I mean, no angel reinvests in a Series A and after 6 years, right?
Crazy.
They should be exiting.
So I think I know why VCs invest, because your answers are all very, really good and clear. And the interesting thing is, when I was doing the research, I saw, I think it was a LinkedIn post or something from Dinesh Pai.
Yeah.
And he was praising the pitch deck that you guys had also. And you would raise funds from Rainmatter, right?
Yes. So Dinesh Pai, Rainmatter, I mean, I think they over the last 12 months, they had seen about, I think, 4,000 decks.
Yeah.
And he had put out 2 decks as the ones that, in his entire 4,000 decks, that he found the best.
Sudarshan, I have a small surprise, and I'll interrupt you there.
Okay.
I actually printed out your pitch deck. The same.
Oh,
the same.
All right. This is not planned, and this is
so the same.
Not something that I was expecting.
The same pitch deck that we got.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to see this live in action. So assume I'm some fancy VC, but rather like it looks beautiful, and I got it color printed. And we'll probably put it on the side.
This is the first time I've seen this in print.
So, I mean, tell me, how do you explain this?
So maybe one of these slides, one of these slides you can probably pull up there. So I'll take you through this and make you understand in terms of this first slide is same from 6 years.
And you spoke about
it. So this is something, if you come to my factory, this first one, the mission hasn't changed, and I think that's something which I mean, obviously the go to market will change because you have to adopt. You can't be saying ye karna, and that's why all this is never there. All of that has happened, but this larger mission and the fact that we want to solve for obesity, metabolic issues, protein deficiency, diabetes.
The why is clear.
So the purpose of this, what we are doing, 120 million diabetics, 14% of Indian population obese, adults 70% protein deficient. So we were very clear, this is what we are solving for.
Okay.
Of course, how we'll solve for is what we ended up doing. But I'll talk about this one, and this is what will give you a sense of how the market is changing and why it will change. See, let's take protein as an example, because that's something which everyone understands, right? And 5 years back, protein powder started to become mainstream, right? Everyone's like, whey protein was not very big. But 5 years back, then, people started to adopt, and then brands started to come, muscle blaze came. And this is how any consumer journey progresses in any industry, and you'll understand how this happens. So you have the early adopters, they'll get into protein powders. What happens is now they are beginning to have supplements, right? So now they're saying, okay, you know what, I'm supplementing, but can I also snack the same thing? Which is why about 3 years back, you had protein bars started to come into play, right? And if you see that market of protein bars, not the energy bars, but protein bars started to come into play 3 years back. Then they said, okay, I'm snacking bars. Can I have something which is more something which I'm used to snacking? Which is why about a year and a half, 2 years back, you started seeing protein cookies. You had the right Max and all those protein cookies that started to come into play, right? And then you had those 10-gram protein cookies and all of that started to come. And once snacking starts to play, right? And then it enters into staples. Then people start saying, okay, this is something which I'm having one-off. Can I have that in my everyday food? So which is why about a year and a half back, you started to seeing protein, Amul introduced protein lassi, protein buttermilk.
Right.
We introduced protein atta. Protein bread, we created the category.
Okay.
So what happened is a guy who's snacking said, okay, now I want to, even my other food, can it become high on protein? So then what does a person consume daily? Your center of plate volume comes from staples, right? So staples, you have bread, you have atta, you have rice, and then you have pulses and all of that. Dairy is the other key staple. So dairy started to become high protein, right? Atta started to become high protein. And then suddenly now you have in the daily food protein come into play. And then the same guy said, look, I'm having high protein atta. Let me order high protein food from cloud kitchens also. So if you see now today, they started ordering cloud kitchen, or when you go out also, you say, okay, can I pick up a paneer or can I pick up a chicken or whatever, right? Because then you're saying, okay, can I have something which is more higher on protein? And that's how the consumer journey goes on. And then it becomes part of lifestyle.
Okay.
And the moment it becomes lifestyle, the signal for that is when it enters staples. That means it's become part of your lifestyle. And when that happens, the category explodes. So which is why if you see protein today, everyone says, yaar, har aadmi protein bana raha hai, protein ka too much clutter hai. But people are not realizing that, the same thing happened 10 years, 15 years back with fiber.
See, assume like a lot of the audience are not IIM backed. They don't have all of these numbers, etc. They don't understand a lot of these terms as well. This is a naive question. But what are the questions that VCs usually ask you? Like, what is what is unit economics? What is TAM, etc. And how do you answer that? And if you had to explain it to someone who's a first-time founder.
See, I think they will want to understand what problem you're solving, I think. And then they will try to understand, is it a large enough problem, which is where the TAM and everything comes into play. And then they will look at fundamentally, is your product able to solve that? And then finally, if it solves that, can it be differentiated?
Okay.
And then if it is differentiated enough, can it scale? It starts from the problem statement.
Then how large the market is?
Yes.
Then can you
how large the problem is, basically. The problem statement, the large, and is it a problem? Every problem doesn't need to be solved, or every problem doesn't have a solution.
Now, the last two questions, I think one I saw was your Twitter or your LinkedIn or one of that, where it mentioned this word anitya and impermanence.
Yeah.
That's your bio. So tell me about that. I want to talk about the personal philosophy of Sudarshan as well.
So anitya is here. I mean, if you can see, it's engraved here. Anitya means impermanence. Nothing is permanent, and everything comes, everything goes. After Ola, before I decided what I want to do, I did Vipassana. I don't know if you've heard of Vipassana. Days. Yeah, so 10 days you go. So the thing about Vipassana is your day starts at 4:30. It ends at 8:30. You're sitting in one place, correct, eyes closed, and you're exhausted by the end of the day because the only focus there is on the meditation technique. And there is, for the first 4 days, it's a breathing technique. And then from breathing, they move to the meditation technique. And the meditation technique is very different. It's not about focusing on an object or on the center of the forehead or whatever. It's a very different meditation technique. And it's not that you're with self-introspecting about life. You just don't have the time. You're just from 4:30 in the morning to 8:30 in the night. You're just non-stop meditating for 14 hours. But that entire thing, the way it is and the technique and whatever it is, it somewhere changes you fundamentally, because you really understand the human body, and I'm saying human body in the meditation piece because you realize how much the mind and body are connected, and how the mind is influenced by body and how the body is influenced by the mind. So
this is the question that I have, right? So as someone who is getting into entrepreneurship, you're always ambitious, whereas impermanence is a very opposite topic.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a polar opposite. How do you balance this dichotomy?
No, so the idea is that all of this, what you're doing, right? It has to start from a larger purpose. I mean, whatever you're doing, if you don't have the larger purpose, see, entrepreneurship is so tough. I mean, today I'm talking about all of this glamour.
I keep hearing this.
About 2 years back, if you would have spoken to me, and we've gone through some, like 3 times my bank balance was zero, and I would stay up all night, leave aside meditation or otherwise. Right? I just couldn't sleep because I didn't know how to pay the salary. Every founder, even the largest companies, has gone through the same thing. So it's an extremely tough journey. If you're in this to just make money, at some point of time when the money is not being made, then you will say, look, I might as well do something else.
Yeah.
But the only thing that will make you stick towards it is, a larger purpose and a reason why you want to do it.
But I have one more thing, one last round, which again is another surprise.
Achha.
I'm going to put on my rapid fire coffee with Karan hat.
Okay.
The first one I think should be easy. What is one food item that you would ban from India if you could?
There's an ingredient called maltodextrin. So I think there are a lot of products that carry that. So if I were to ban an ingredient, I would ban that first.
And why?
People usually talk about sugars and other carbohydrates, but this is something that has as severe an impact in terms of your blood sugar spikes. And it usually goes, not enough people are talking about it.
Interesting. What's one Indian snack that you still can't resist, even though you know it's not healthy?
I make the healthier version of the bhujia. So
there's nothing.
So the South Indian mixture is my absolute favorite. And I actually, the biggest reason I think I created that product was because I absolutely love that, and I've created a high protein and a low carb version of that, and that's a weakness for me.
What's one ingredient that most Indians think is healthy but isn't?
Jaggery.
It's not healthy.
Not at all. So from a human body perspective, it treats jaggery and sugar in exactly the same manner. It has the same impact on the body. So if you believe sugar is not good for you, then jaggery is also not good for you. And that's something that Indians don't realize. They just assume jaggery dala hai, to it is okay to have it.
Yeah.
But
That's what all of our moms say.
That's not the case.
Crazy. Okay, this one's interesting. Who's your biggest competitor? Is it Indian food habits or is it other brands?
My biggest competitor would be the inherent habit, in my opinion, because in the end, that's something which is very difficult. So we are a small company, right? Takes time to change habits, and we don't have the money and the muscle power. So I would say the biggest competitor is the other everyday foods that compete, and they just make people say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to have that. So
complete this one. Indian mothers will only trust my products when dash.
When their kids can also have it.
What's the toughest part of being a founder?
So I think the toughest part for me is my early employees, right? Because they have trusted their entire career to me, right? And most of the people I got them as freshers. So, in one way, to make sure that they grow up to
charting their career.
Yeah. So I think that for me, the responsibility and the pressure that I take for my employees and then also for the early investors, right? I mean, who just they put in the money in my name. I mean, they would not even look at the product. So I think that to make sure that we are delivering and we are making it worth the while for the employees and for the early investors, I think has been the biggest source of stress for me.
I think we touched a little bit about this, but what keeps you up at night?
I think now that the mission is taking shape, right? Earlier it was most about can we do it, not do it, chalo try karke dekhte hain, right? And kar rahe hain. But now that the mission is taking shape, now the responsibility of again our investors, people, and just the fact that now people, every day almost 25,000 people are trusting and eating my products every single day. Already. So that's for me, that really is a big thing. Is that product still good? Is that product still worthwhile?
Are there any entrepreneurs or any one entrepreneur that you admire in the health food space?
The beauty is, I think I'm in touch with literally everyone, and I don't look at anyone as a competition. In fact, technically, people who are founders or competitors to me, I also tell them, "Yeah, this keyword pe bid kar le, ye better hai. This works well for me." So I think I don't look at them as competition at all. Sure. In fact, I would rather say that I think. Rainmatter as a fund and the team itself, and of course Nitin and Dilip there. No, I admire them because they're also they've also built out the fund, and that fund is run like a startup, right? And because they're building that ecosystem of health in India, right? And they are enabling. I mean, one is I as a company am doing something, but they are bringing in the ecosystem and enabling many enablers, right? And that's what I admire because they could have spent the money anywhere.
Do you watch podcasts? Do you read books?
Yeah, I watch, and I have very limited time.
One book or podcast that you...
Huberman's Lab. I mean, any free time I have, or even when I'm showering, it's Huberman's Lab that is playing all the time. So
this is our last question. What's one big misconception that people have about you?
I think that one key, not misconception, but I think perception is of my employees and as that I'm a very to the point and very transactional in nature. But I think while I may not express, but I usually am very concerned and very think about the team and people a lot.
Awesome, yeah. So this is the last thing that we do in the podcast, where we have 3 cameras. So imagine this is your red carpet. No one else is there in the room. This is your moment of sharing it with the world, and it could be to anybody. It could be to your younger self, employees, your team, the country, the market, whatever. So take your time and shoot.
The one thing I say, and I say this to a lot of my peers and my friends, is at some point of time do something impactful. I think that's something which I there is no end to making money. I think once you have a certain financial security or responsibilities are in place, try to do something which is impactful. I think there's enough. I think there's no end to making money, but I think there is no end. I mean, creating an impact should be something that we should all go back to in some way or the other. That's all.
Awesome, yeah. Thank you so much. That's the wrap.
Thank you. Thank you, man.